change in a minute or so. So we'll get the meeting started. I will now officially call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Massachusetts Youth Soccer Association 2022 Annual General Meeting. I'm Bob Trudeau, President of Mass Youth Soccer, at least for another hour or so. On behalf of the association, its board of directors and staff, thank you for your attendance and participation in this important meeting for the organization. Your interest, involvement, and support are key to the association being able to provide services and programs to our 13 affiliated leagues throughout the state. With me this evening as panelists for the meeting are Executive Director Mike Borislaw, Executive Vice President David Amadon, Secretary Karen Goulet, Treasurer Thomas Ringler, State Youth Referee Administrator Ellie Nassif, and from our staff, Rob Holliday and Jamie Balboni. So let's get right into the meeting details. Next slide, Rob. The meeting format. This meeting is being held in the Zoom webinar format, meaning that the audio is limited to the presenters and the staff support. For purposes of discussion during the meeting, delegates can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to submit comments and questions. Voting will be conducted using the application Nemo Vote. During this past week, credentialed delegates to the meeting have been emailed a link to the Nemo Vote application and instructions how to access and navigate the platform. If you have not signed into the application yet, please do so now during the initial stages of the meeting so you'll be prepared to vote at the appropriate times. I should mention that all documents pertinent to this meeting have been posted on the Mass Youth Soccer website AGM page. The link to the web page, which includes the documents links, is shown on this slide if you need to access the documents. The documents will remain posted to the web page after the meeting is concluded. Finally, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that the meeting is being recorded. Next slide, please. Let's quickly review the agenda for tonight's meeting. We've been through the welcome and the meeting format. Next, we will conduct a test vote to establish a quorum for the meeting. We'll have presidential remarks and business of the meeting, introductions. Rob, Jamie, and our secretary, Karen Goulet, will hopefully by that time have a credentials report for us. We will then go into the approval of the minutes of the 2021 AGM and the 2021 special meeting that was held in October. Unfinished business, financial report for 2020 to 2021 fiscal year, then the presentation of our 2021-22 budget. Next slide, please. A program and services reports. We'll have a brief report from our SYRA, Ellie Nassif, a report from our executive director, Mike Borislaw. Then we will go into the bylaw amendment proposals before this meeting, a fee proposal, then elections, the selection of a president, and the at-large directors, followed by new business. Thank you to our partners, good of the game, and then adjournment. Next slide, please. So right now we need to go into a test vote of the Nemo vote application to try to establish the credentials report for this meeting. So I'm going to yield the floor to Rob Holliday, our Director of Operations, Marketing, and Communications, and Jamie Balboni, our Communications and Marketing Administrator. All yours.
Thank you, Bob. As Bob mentioned, we need to log in to the Nemo Vote voting site. That's mys-2022-agm.nemovote.com. I'm going to start opening the first of two votes that we're going to go through. The first is a pre-quorum test, just to make sure we have enough folks on. I have successfully opened a vote. So on your My Votes page, there should be a refresh icon with a red 1 notification bubble, or there is a banner that pops up along the bottom that says a new vote has been opened. Click on the banner or the refresh icon, and you might need to click on the blue voting icon in the actions column. Once you have clicked to vote, please make your selection. And we'll give you about 30 seconds to complete the vote. Ten more seconds. There are currently 42 voters online. 41 have submitted votes. And I'm closing out the vote now. If this was a motion, it would have passed with overwhelming success for hot pretzels to be served at Progen Park concession stand. No great surprises there. So we're now going to do our quorum vote. So we'll open up a second vote. This vote is not graded.
Rob, some instructions on how to refresh and get that vote?
Yep, so to get to the second vote, again, you'll need to go to the My Votes tab. On that My Votes tab, there will be a banner that pops up that says click to vote here, or the red bubble notification next to the refresh or recycle icon. Click on that and the vote will pop up on your screen. Again, you need to click on the blue vote icon in the actions column in order to enter the vote. So this is our vote to establish a quorum. It's worth noting that the credentials produced from this vote may not be equal to the votes later on if people drop off or join the call. We'll give you 15 seconds longer to vote. Okay. And we're closing the vote now. Okay. We have a total of 45 delegates with a total voting weight of 136 at this point in the meeting, which I believe is enough to establish a quorum. So back to you, Bob.
Okay, can we get the next slide, please? Okay. I'm going to hold on my opening remarks until after the leadership introductions. However, as to the business of the meeting, It is a requirement of our Constitution, Section 8.01. The association holds an annual business meeting for the purpose of reviewing activities during the previous 12 months, including a financial review, both completed and projected, governance changes if warranted, selection of board of directors to open positions, and to conduct such other association business as deemed appropriate and necessary. Let me take a few moments to recognize some of the statewide leadership attending the meeting this evening, and then make some opening remarks. Next slide, please. First, our board of directors who are all participating this evening, the 4 officers who are the panelists for tonight's meeting, and our 12 at-large directors. I won't recite the list, rather I'll allow you to read through it. We'll pause for 30 seconds to give you a little bit of time. Okay, and second slide, please. Now on to our non-voting board members, including our most recent Director Emeritus, Howie Black. As you'll notice, 3 of these board members are Mass Youth Soccer Hall of Fame members as well. Next slide. Our affiliated league leadership. Again, most if not all of these leaders on the list are participating in tonight's meeting. This group of leaders comprises the Mass Youth Soccer's Leagues Committee that meets regularly to discuss issues, collaborate on guidelines, and make improvements that all leagues can support. The committee's continued contributions help the association achieve our mission of providing a safe and healthy environment for kids to play soccer. I'd like to especially welcome the 3 newest presidents and members of the Leagues Committee, Reg Wilcox from Bays, Rick Porter from Midland Area Youth Soccer, or Mays, and Chris Battensee from the Neshoba Valley. Welcome, gentlemen. Next slide, please. Finally, our Mass Youth Soccer staff, without whom we'd be hard pressed to deliver the programs and services to our members. Many of you have had interactions with members of the teams over the year. However, just to point out 3 recent additions, Jacob Ames, who is a member services administrator, Scott Lovington, the assistant facilities manager, and Kayla McClellan, risk management and registration administrator. I also want to acknowledge that our state referee administrator, Rich Frangello, and members of the Massachusetts State Referee Committee who are attending the meeting as guests this evening. So, as I alluded to earlier, this is my last AGM as chair of this meeting. I've served 7 years, 1 short of 2 full terms. I firmly believe in term limits, and I also believe for the key position of president, it is time for new perspectives, new ideas, and a renewed energy to carry the association forward. When I first decided to run for this position, my eyes were wide open. I knew it was going to be a challenging undertaking, but little did I realize that the pace of change in the youth soccer landscape would accelerate so fast. Excuse me. To illustrate my point, I went through an exercise to prepare for my remarks this evening. I started reviewing board meeting minutes during my tenure and jotting down on an 8.5 by 11 line piece of paper, 1 item on each line, every issue. You can read that as a problem, if you will, challenge, initiative, or action that the board has addressed during the past 7 years. About halfway down page 3, I stopped after I wrote this one word, pandemic. I didn't think that I needed to write down what we've all been through these past 2 years. My point is that the change in the youth soccer environment occurs at an ever-increasing speed, and we as a state association need to be able to keep pace and actually outpace the level of change. Fortunately, I think we're in a good place at the moment. One of my important goals in coming into this position was to continuously improve the level of communication, transparency, and collaboration between the state association, leagues, and our member organizations. While I recognize that there may be a range of opinions as to how successful that objective has been, I firmly believe we have moved the needle in a positive direction. To provide an example, our leadership began discussion with the league presidents last September at their monthly leagues committee meeting as to the unstable and unpredictable youth sports insurance industry that is contributing greatly to the fee proposal that we will be discussing later in the meeting. So in closing, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to all the folks I've just introduced for their support and guidance on this journey. To the league presidents and league representatives, thank you for your advice, your counsel, and collaboration with the state association as we navigate the youth soccer environment. To our board, thank you for embracing the transformation from an operational to a strategic body focused on ideas, initiatives, planning of approaches to improve and enhance the services we provide to our members. And finally, to our staff, I can't thank you enough for your diligence and dedication to your jobs, particularly during this most difficult time of the past 2 years. Like many of you, our members in this meeting, during the pandemic period, the staff experienced cutbacks in staffing, wages, and benefits in order for the association to carry on. Yet not once did they shirk from their responsibilities or fail to serve the membership. Their performance was truly exemplary. Finally, to our member organizations, thank you for your support and open discourse on issues before us. Your willingness to not only share your opinions, but also listen to the state association's viewpoints is so very important to our ability to improve the association and move Mass Youth Soccer forward. Oh, and one last point before I conclude. I hope you all recognize how extremely fortunate Mass Youth Soccer is to have an executive director of the caliber of Mike Borislaw. Mike is not only passionate about our sport and the youth who play it, he is a skilled businessman. He is the most knowledgeable person that I know of the youth soccer landscape, not only in Massachusetts, but regionally and nationally. Some of you may not be aware, but he is held in high regard by leadership and other state associations and on the national level, as witnessed by his appointment to important committee assignments at U.S. Youth Soccer and the U.S. Soccer Federation. It has been my distinct honor and privilege to work alongside Mike these past 7 years, and I assure you that the association is in great hands with the operational leadership he provides moving forward. So this is not goodbye. I just move over a seat to immediate past president. I still plan to be involved in the association, and I hope to see many of you on the pitch in the future. Thank you. All right, we're on to credentials report. Karen, for the record, do you want to repeat that one more time? Or is Karen having difficulty with her audio?
Yep, Karen's just dropped off by the looks of things. So there were 45 voting delegates represented with a total voting weight of 136. And the answer to the question was 1778 for those who have asked.
Oh, I failed history again, Rob. All right. Next slide, please. To the voting members on this meeting, just so everybody is on the same page, bylaw amendments, fee proposal, the election of board candidates requires a simple majority approval. For each vote, we will provide a report of the number of delegates and the voting weight present. All right, next slide, please. Approval of the 2021 AGM minutes, which have been posted on the AGM webpage for review. Are there any questions or comments regarding the 2021 AGM minutes? Please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen to submit. I will pause for a minute to allow time for submittals. Rob, do we have anything coming in through Q&A?
No questions. There was a motion to approve. I do not think that is necessary for this process.
You are correct. Unless we have questions or comments, we will consider the 2021 AGM minutes approved as submitted. Next slide, please. This is the approval of the 2021 special membership meeting held in early October 2021 to request the membership approval of the Board of Directors plan to re-turf the 5 artificial turf fields at Progen Park and other infrastructure repairs. This is a capital expense project that required membership approval. The minutes from that meeting also need to be approved by the membership. Are there any questions or comments regarding the 2021 special membership meeting minutes? Again, if there are, please use the Q&A function. Rob, are there any questions or comments?
No questions or comments, Bob.
Okay. Having received no questions or comments, we will consider the 2021 special membership meeting minutes approved as submitted. Next slide. Unfinished business. There's no unfinished business recorded in the 2021 AGM minutes. Therefore, we will move on to the financial reports. Next slide, please. The 2021 audited fiscal year financial report and the detailed 2021-2022 association budget have been posted to the AGM page for web membership review. Let me call upon our treasurer, Thomas Ringler, to highlight key features and provide the overall summary of each of the 2 reports. Thomas?
Thank you, Bob. For those who don't know me, my name is Thomas Ringler. I'm the treasurer of Mass Soccer. As Bob just mentioned, prior to this meeting, we provided the treasurer's report, which gives you all the details about our fiscal year 2020-2021, as well the budget 2021-2022. Also included in the treasurer's report is our auditor's letter, which states that our accounting books are in good order and are representing our financial situation as of October 31st, 2021, according to standard accounting rules. I prepared a few slides, really just focusing on the highlights of the last fiscal year, as well a few slides to present you our budget for the upcoming year. Next slide, please. First slide, you can see the revenues of Matthew Stalker. We had in ending October 2020, our revenues were at 2.6 million, which was really hit by COVID at that year. As you can see, our revenues for this year went up to 4.5 million. The big jump from 2.6 to 4.2 was driven by 1.6 coming from increased membership fees. Essentially, we saw return to play and an increase of our memberships again. Field rentals went up by $500,000, and then the program fees went up by $800,000. Essentially, all programs returned to play in the spring and summer. Additionally, we had $200,000 of income from our PPP loan forgiveness. As you might remember, we applied for 2 PPP loans, PPP loan 1, and we applied for forgiveness of the PPP 1 loan, and that created that income for last year. PPP loan 2, we are going to into the application process for forgiveness in April of this year. Next slide, please. Here you can see how our expenses developed from last year to this year. We spent last year 2.6 million. We increased slightly our spending with our programs and fields, as well as our labor costs, especially the compensations for our staff increased slightly over last year. One thing I want to point out, the expenses increased a lot lower than our revenues. And that was really driven during the year. We didn't really know where COVID is going. So we really kept our cost control fully in place. So while we increased our revenue significantly, we still had deferred maintenance. We still cut the benefits for our staff. There was no 401k matching and no bonus payment last year. So all that helped us, next slide, to really increase our profit from, as you can see in 2020, it was a break even, and we increased our profit to 1.4 million last year. There was this one-off effect of for PPP loan forgiveness that helped us to increase our profit by $300,000. But the big jump of 1.1 million was really, as I just explained, our revenues grew a lot faster than our expenses, since we still focused on cost control, not knowing if COVID is really over or not. So it's a bit of a one-off. These numbers cannot be repeated. This is really just due to the special situation we were in last year. Next slide. Going into our budget for 2021-2022, next slide, please. Overall, we can say we are back to a pre-COVID level of revenues and expenses. First, we ended up last year at 4.5 million. I exclude the PPP loan forgiveness. So really the starting line to compare against our budget is a revenue of 4.2 million. And we expect that this will increase by roughly 200,000 a little half, 100,000 coming from increased membership fees. Again, we expect that our membership number of members will increase, going back to pre-COVID level, and as well as the increase of our program fees, mainly driven by increase of fees for ODP, for TSL, District Select, and State Cup. Next slide, please. This year, we expect a big jump in our expenses. We ended up at 3.1 million last year, and we expect to go to spend up to $4 million in the upcoming year. And the big jump is coming, the expenses for our programs and fields will go up by 700,000, as well as our labor costs will go up by 200,000. And again, I want to point out that the previous years, we had really strict cost control, didn't know where COVID was going. And now we're going back to a more normalized spending, where we have to do a couple of work on the fields and other areas, so that we are going back to normal, if you will. So if you look at the last slide, that then in turn, our profit of 1.4 million last year cannot be repeated. It's just not normal because of the effects I just mentioned earlier. So we expect to have a net operating profit of $400,000 this year, which really reflects historically our net operating profit level of pre-COVID. So we're back to normal, I would say. We had an extreme unfavorable year during COVID, an extreme favorable year last year. So in average, we are now back to a pre-COVID normalized budget with revenue and expense. That's the end of my presentation.
Are there any questions for Thomas? Again, please use the Q&A function. We'll pause for a minute before we proceed. Any questions, Rob?
We've had a question come in regarding current balances.
So I would need to, ask Rick to give a bit more specifics. Rick, what do you mean with current balances? Cash, accounts receivables? So I see two questions. Rick, I'm still not quite clear how to answer that target carrying balances. I would need to have a what specific balances. We are targeting a certain cash level. We are targeting a certain accounts receivable level. During the year, we have a seasonal business. Our cash balance is typically very high at the beginning of the soccer season. It is now over $2 million as of today, but then it will go down during the season until new registration is coming in. The second question, does the expected 2022 revenue include the proposed fee increase of $5? No, not yet. This is revenues are through end of October 2022, and it's assuming current membership of $17 per player, $17 per adult.
Thank you, Thomas. There are no further questions, Bob.
Okay, thank you. Give me a second here. Okay, we are on to the program and services reports, which have also been posted to the AGM webpage. Mike, would you like to address the reports before entertaining any questions or comments from the membership?
Sure, Bob, thank you very much. And before I address the reports, I wasn't planning any formal comments, but and I can save them at the very end for good of the game for sure. But I just want to thank you very much for your kind words about my abilities. But let me emphasize, I'd like to go backwards to the team, staff team that we have at Mass Youth Soccer. Compared to the 53 other state associations out there, we probably have one of the best teams in the country. I get calls from all over asking us, how do we do what we do? Asking us for our practices, our HR practices, our reach out methodologies, our member services work that we do in addition to the programs that we run. As well as there are actually more states coming online which are purchasing land and building their own fields, and so we share the journey that we've been through with them, and they're very, very appreciative. But for the I got to say, we've got an incredible team at Mass Youth, and I just want to make sure that they're a part of the overall kudos. So thank you, Bob. And also with regards to the program and services reports, they've been submitted. I'd like to consider them as submitted, no changes or amendments to be made. One thing I do invite all of our members to do that are on this meeting today, as well as those that will be watching the video of this presentation when it's made available, is that they can go through the reports and do not hesitate to call anybody as it pertains to each of those reports provided. So if you've got any questions about any of the programs, services, or anything we've got going along, please reach out to those folks and they'll be more than happy to help you out. So in essence, the AGM doesn't end here. Our phone lines, email lines are always available. But Bob, please accept the reports as submitted.
So noted.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
There is one extension of a report that we felt was extremely important to us to share. And that is with a focus on what's taking place in the referee world today. I think everybody realizes that we have a situation that needs to be addressed. So without me really further going into some of the details, I'm going to turn it over to Ellie Nassif, the Massachusetts State Referee Committee member, and he's our state youth referee administrator. So Ellie, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you also, Bob. Can I please have the first slide? Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I've been around for a number of years, soccer, refereeing, as well as I've done some coaching. So I'm well aware of a lot of aspects of the soccer community. Next slide, please. I'm going to be talking about the Genesis referee program is one of the reasons that we believe can help us overcome the hurdles that we are currently going through with the shortage and the retention of the referees. US soccer was losing a lot of people. As you can see here by the numbers that we're showing, most people we lose are in their first year. And there's no need for us to go into why they do this. The range of reasons are wide and can be discussed at length. In Massachusetts, we were losing 90% of our first year referees. That's a lot of people that were going through the system and we weren't retaining them. Our job at the MSRC is to mentor these people, the referees, and to use the clubs and ask the clubs to help us educate and retain the referees at least beyond their first couple of years. Next slide, please. Everybody understands this, but a lot of us sometimes lose sight of this. Every game has to have 3 teams. There's the white team, the red team, and the referee team. You can't have a game without one of those teams on the field. And please remember, the more teams we have and the more leagues we have, the more referees we need. Our referees currently are overworked to the point where they're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 games on a weekend. That can cause burnouts. So one of the things that we're starting to work on is the Genesis referee program. It is one of several programs that we're working with Mass Youth and the adult portion of the soccer community to help recruit, develop, and train referees. And we believe that because of this, the retention rate is going to go up because as they grow, along with the players, the difference is going to become palatable for everybody to see that these referees are just like the players. They learn and they progress in their career just like the players do. Next slide, please. Click, please. Can you click all of them, please, Rob? So there is a tiered program in Massachusetts, if you want to call it a pyramid, where the base of the pyramid is the Genesis Referee Project. We're looking at creating referees from the bottom up, where they come in at the lowest level, at the youngest age, and go through all of these different tiers to end up at the elite group. And these are the groups that are ending up either at the regional level, the national level, or MLS and FIFA. Next, please. The Genesis Referee Program overview. Next, please. It was started in 2018 as a collaboration between Mass Youth and the Massachusetts State Referee Committee to help support our towns and our clubs in recruiting and developing referees. Now, the way the system works, next slide, please. Just like for players, they are provided a very safe, fair, and quiet environment, if you wish, for young referees, 12, 13-year-olds, to learn the game at that level as referees. It provides all the stakeholders with a process of recruiting, because the idea of recruiting from the players, which is where best referees come out of because they understand the game. And it brings consistency throughout the state so that not everybody is doing their own thing. It was researched for a year before we ended up creating a framework for all towns they can use. It does provide a clear pathway for all referees to understand which way they want to go. Next slide, please. This is, I think, is critical. Massachusetts State Referee Committee and Matthews Soccer don't charge anything for this. This is free to you guys. Whatever services we could provide, we don't charge you for that. And you can decide on how much the program costs you within your town or your program. We have a very dedicated group of individuals. I'd like to mention two of them, Kevin Suarez, actually three of them, Kevin Suarez, who is our mentor director, Jeff Chambers and Janet Gargan, who are very involved in the Genesis program. Actually, they were there at the Genesis, if you want, of the Genesis referee program, and they were very instrumental in making sure it got off the ground. Next slide, please. Trainees basically are assigned at the lowest level games. They are brought in to do local in-town recreational games where the players are learning and so are the referees. And it's great when they do that because they're basically, the coaches and the parents are seeing that these referees are brought in to learn. It gives them a clearer view of the progress of a referee. At the field, the new referees are provided with mentors. As they progress, the mentoring becomes less and less hands-on. And as they move up and decide if they want to continue in their career as a referee, we give them a streamlined pathways for advancement and certification. Again, the cost is nothing to you if you decide to do it that way. Next slide, please. Once you're done with that, there are different programs. One of them is prep for the referees for the young trainees who decide to become referees. We support them, we mentor them through their second stage of their careers. We also bridge their gap between instructional or training all the way to grassroots. It becomes easier for them because we do have mentors that they can rely on as they get in there. And this also helps them out. It strengthens their abilities as a grassroots referee, those of you who know it as the old grade 8, even if they don't want to advance, which helps out all the teams. There's a lot of bad habits and misinformation that are going around the quality of the referees and their abilities. I think mentoring is where we've got a great mentor program that is really helping out. Next slide, please. Here are two places where you can find out more information. Actually, the first one is Mass Youth on the referees Genesis referee program. It is a detailed page that could give you a lot of information. And if it's still not enough, you can always write to mentor@massref.net. Next slide, please. Oh, one more, I'm sorry, Rob. And this is where once they become eligible and we recognize people. We know that people are rarely recognized as referees, so we recognize them within our own community, and these people are very well, highly respected and understand where we are. Next slide, please.
And that would be the final slide there, Ellie.
Oh, that is, okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you very much. And so before I continue, like to just put it out there. If anybody has any questions or comments they would like to share, please use the Q&A function, and we'll wait up to a minute here while you enter anything. But while we're doing that, just to reiterate that if you're interested, there's information on the Mass Youth Soccer website under the referees tab, and then you'll see the Genesis referee program or the link that was on the previous slide. But just go to the Mass Youth Soccer website, referees, and then the tab for the Genesis referee program. And
thank you all.
Not seeing anything. Thank you, Ellie. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to share. This is an extremely important part of the game because, folks, we are in a dire situation. So now it's my turn. Yeah, first off, I want to, I had in here to recognize the staff. I'm going to recognize the staff at every opportunity that I get, for sure. Also, I like to start my comments out as, once again with Bob. Bob and I met way back on the field together. He was assistant coaching a team. I was coaching a team, and he had a much better team than I had. And as quiet as Bob may seem, when you see him on the sideline with his team winning, he's got a bigger smile than he has right now. But no, Bob. But from there, we developed an incredible relationship, and I just thank you very much. Essentially, my first, all of my years of service, going on, pushing 8 years, going 7 years, like yourself, was just right before you became president. And so it's been a joy to serve under you. And as my report shared with everybody is that you've done some incredible things with all your initiatives, and you definitely have left a positive mark for soccer in the state of Massachusetts. So thank you very much. And yes, you'll still be on the board as the immediate past president, and yes, you still have a vote. So I'll be more than happy to see you exercise that now, because in the past you never did unless there was a tie, and I don't think you ever had to break a tie. So it's going to be finally fun to see you vote for once. I just want to thank everybody who's on here tonight. I went down the attendee list, and I think I know most of you. I've talked to most of you. Fortunately, I've seen all of your names in a positive way, in a good way, and I just really want to thank everybody attending for your professionalism, your volunteerism, your hard work, and your incredible efforts for everything that you do for the children of Massachusetts to provide them the best sports opportunity the state has, and that definitely is soccer. Yeah, there are some other sports that are played in New England, but by far, quite frankly, soccer is probably rebounded better than any other sport coming out of the last 2 years. And that is true testimony to everybody's incredible efforts. So thank you very much. And I'm going to kind of go back to where Ellie left off, addressing our referee shortage. I typically will make my comments to be a little bit, I guess, very positive, leaning towards the incredible things that are taking place and the such, but I'm going to just follow up to what Ellie has shared. First, he did mention two key people. The Genesis Referee Program, originally called the Grassroots Referee Program, and then the Federation decided to use the word grassroots for something else, and thus we appropriately named it the Genesis Referee Program. Call out to board members Janet Gargan and Jeff Chambers, who helped develop the GRP from a concept to the successful program we have today. So thank you both very much. Also, I want to give kudos to individuals on the other side of the state that are doing some incredible things, and that's at the Roots League out west, under the leadership of Jeff Hines out there, but really with Dave Barton. They've done some incredible work in the referee world, along with the support of Joe Santos. The energy and effort that they have been putting into recruiting referees, training referees, and retaining referees is exemplary. And we have so much that we can learn from what's taking place out there, along with the grassroots. So I think we're really heading in an incredible direction to help solve the referee issues. But they're totally not solved just yet. Has anybody ever heard the phrase, attitudes are contagious? I think we've heard it plenty of times, but for those of us that have the hairline and the hair color that I do, can go back 19 years ago when Mass Youth Soccer developed a video under this name. Attitudes are contagious. It is still available on the Mass Youth Soccer YouTube videos. Now, unfortunately, the subject matter, lessons, and hopes for changes are still the same. We still have issues 19 years later. And quite frankly, I think they're a lot more prevalent today. And this is all about the attitude of people on the sidelines. Now, dozens of member organizations and other state associations have linked to the video for Attitudes Are Contagious. Some people have suggested that we modernize the video. Yet, if you watch it, the message is timeless. The focus of my comments today were to be a follow-up to my report as submitted. Hopefully you had the chance to read that. Folks, we have a sideline behavior challenge. I could spend hours on all the facets in which poor sideline behavior impacts the overall game. I'm talking about coach, parent, spectator, player, and even referee behaviors that need to be addressed. It is a huge part of why referees leave us. Not the only part, but it's a very large part. But it's also why a lot of children drop out of the sport. Kids want to play the sport with their friends. They want to have fun on the field. And all of a sudden, when they hear these parents yelling what they yell, it makes the sport unpleasant to participate in. So it just doesn't drive away referees, it drives away our children. Now, just after I prepared my report to submit as a part of the book of reports that we have for the AGM, the latest issue of New England Soccer Journal came out. And a friend, contemporary, and an excellent writer, Adam Scott, who's affiliated with one of the other leagues in the state, shared his concerns with an article titled, "The Soccer Referee Crisis is Upon Us." So if you have time, please go take a look at New England Soccer Journal and that article. Extremely well written, and he hits a lot of the key points. We share so many common concerns, both of us. But one of the true things that's taking place is referee abuse has become a norm. Now, we don't see too many referee abuse things hit the news in New England, and I thank God for that. We've got incredible people in our state that are doing incredible things to make sure that we don't have anything elevate that's going to show up on any of the news stations. Now, I may be giving us the kiss of death right here, but I'm telling you, we do our best. But we see it in soccer, we see it in other sports. Remember that refereeing is a job. Now, how many people listening to me right now would put up with the abuse similar to what referees at all ages receive on the field? Could you imagine somebody coming into your office, into your place of employment, into your vehicle, if you're working a vehicle, and just yelling at you because they think you did a lousy job? Many would classify this as an unsafe working environment, and they have protections and rights to address and prevent it from happening again. Yet for our referees, it seems that this has become a norm. Simply put, this unhealthy environment must not be tolerated. Now, I could go on and on, but I would only get myself extremely worked up. So I'm going to try and address some possible fixes to the problem. Now, there are so many ways for us to face this challenge, but to me, one of the most important we can do is to educate. All soccer organizations in our state have various resources and methods at our fingertips. One resource we all have access to is the Soccer Parenting Association. These materials are available on our website at no cost to our members. One of the association's key initiatives is the Sideline Project. So please go to our website, look under the About page, And under sponsors, you'll see a link for soccer parenting. It is so important that we utilize these resources to help all of us in our 350-something-ish, 46-something member organizations. We're all in this together. Another method that will become a Massachusetts Soccer, Massachusetts State Referee Committee, and a Leagues Committee initiative is for us to collectively work together on standardizing common sets of codes of conduct. These will be codes of conduct for players, coaches, parents and spectators, and referees. We hope that this initiative will help us start the changes that need to take hold at the most basic levels of our game on the sidelines. We must educate all involved, not only in soccer, but all youth sports, that we need to address these negative behaviors. So remember, attitudes are contagious. We all must embrace positive attitudes. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you reading the reports as well. Now, Bob would like to recognize some important folks.
Next slide, please. Give me a second here. Okay, yes, we have some thank yous we would like to share. Before we move on, I'd like to take a moment and recognize some of the members of our staff and board who have left or will be leaving us at the conclusion of this meeting. First recognition goes to Lynn Galutza. And it is, I will admit, it's taken me all 7 years of my tenure to learn how to pronounce her last name. But I think I finally have it. So Lynn was our former program and events director who was responsible for organizing State Cup, District Select, assisting at MTOC, the annual Mass Youth Soccer Workshop, and countless other events. Lynn left us last year to pursue an opportunity in private industry. We wish her the very best, and her contributions to the association will be greatly missed. Secondly, and I have to admit that this recognition is well overdue, I'd like to recognize Terry Phillippetti, our longtime State Cup director, who retired over a year ago to spend more time with her family. Terry was an encyclopedia of knowledge, not only about the Mass Youth Soccer State Cup, but also regional championships and the National Championship Series for youth soccer. Terry was always willing to pitch in on any task in the state office. She was well known as the interior decorator for Mass Youth Soccer events. If you ever attended one of our annual awards dinners, the decorations, the centerpieces, the banners, the balloons, these were all Terry's work in design. And we miss her contributions very much. Next slide, please. Third, I'd like to recognize Howie Black, a 20-year member of our board of directors who decided to step down from his position last year. Howie's focus and expertise was coaching education and player development. Initially as the director of instruction, then the board liaison to Ian Mulliner in the technical department, Howie helped guide the association to being recognized as a national leader in coaching education and practice session plans. Howie's contributions to these member services cannot be overstated. And finally, a huge thank you to Jared Scaparci, a current board member who will be stepping away from the board, hopefully not forever, after this meeting. Jared is the first of our board members to reach the term limit deadline instituted by the board several years ago, requiring directors to step away from the board for a year before considering whether to run for a position again. Jared has served on the Mass Youth Soccer Board of Directors for 20 years. And I know for a fact, his first board meeting was June of 2002. Initially, he held the position of Olympic Development Program Director, transitioning into a liaison or advisor to that program. However, Jared didn't limit his involvement to ODP. As one of our longest serving board members, he has taken on roles such as liaison to high schools, colleges. He is our representative to the Mass adult soccer community, as well as on the Hall of Fame committee, and the Mass, also being our Mass Youth Soccer historian. Jared has and will continue to play a large role in the collection of historical data about Mass Youth Soccer's origins and early years, to be shared with the membership as we run up to our 50th anniversary, which is coming up soon in 2024. Jared, on behalf of the board, the staff, and our membership, thank you for your many years of generous service to the association. And please don't go too far away. We will always welcome your advice and counsel. Next slide, please. Okay, I believe now we're getting into the governance documents and other matters that require membership voting. So I believe the first thing we want to do is do another test vote. Is that correct, Rob?
Yes, we're going to host a test vote. So if folks can log into Nemo Vote or log back in, open up your browser. The test vote that we're going to do now, you need to pick exactly 3 choices. I am opening the vote up now. This is to test the functionality to ensure that when we do our selection of Class A at-large directors, that everything is working correctly. So please go to the My Votes. There should be an open vote. Click on the banner at the bottom or the refresh icon with the red 1 bubble. You should then be taken to the vote, and please select your choices and submit your vote. We'll give 15 seconds. And that vote is now being closed. Thank you very much, Bob. Back to you.
Okay, can we see the next slide, please? Okay, we'll now consider a series of 3 bylaw amendment proposals initiated and recommended by the Board of Directors by a unanimous vote. The proposals have been posted on the AGM webpage for membership review. To present the amendments and lead the membership voting process, I would like to call on Executive Vice President David Amadon. David, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Bob. Good evening, everybody. I think, at least I know that COVID is starting to wane a little bit because I woke up this morning with my first head cold in 2 years. So if I sound a little stuffy and sniffly this evening, I apologize for that. We have, as Bob mentioned, we have 3 amendments to consider tonight to our bylaws. Our governance documents are viewed by the board as dynamic. We periodically will look back at them and make sure that they serve their purpose, which is to kind of set process and guardrails for how we conduct our business across a wide range of areas that the association addresses for the members and our leagues. And in that process, we've identified a couple of things that the board considered at great length and ultimately came out with the recommendations that have been available for you all on the AGM website to review and consider for some time. The first bylaw amendment addresses a couple of issues that were identified that are largely technical corrections in nature, I would suggest. This has to do with the return eligibility for board members. The motion to accept this amendment as presented to the meeting was made by Karen Goulet and seconded by Thomas Ringler. Before I open it for discussion to the membership, just briefly, as you can see in the marked version, if you reviewed these on the website, there were two paragraphs that tried, confusingly to cover the same thing. And so what we did is basically correct it to eliminate what we considered to be potentially redundant and confusing and contradictory language, and just to make it clear how the term limit reset works for individuals who were appointed to fill an unexpired term of a board vacancy. So Rob, at this point, I'll open it up for the folks in the meeting. If there are any questions or comments or any further discussion, again, as has been mentioned before, please use the Q&A function, and we'll hold for a little bit to see if we get any input or questions from our membership on this vote before I call for the vote. Rob, if anything comes in, just give me a thumbs up. Otherwise,
there are no comments or questions at this stage.
All right, having received no comments or questions, I will call the question. I'll turn this over to Rob to conduct the vote on this bylaw amendment, requiring a simple majority to pass.
Thank you, David. So I will open the vote now. This is the first of 6 votes between bylaw amendments and selection of directors that will take place over the coming minutes. The vote is now open. Please go to the My Vote section and follow the same process you have throughout this evening. We'll give 10 more seconds for people to cast their votes. The vote is now being closed. And the results are unanimous in favor. There were a total of 45 votes cast with a total voting weight of 142. 100% in favor of the motion.
Thank you, Rob. Our second bylaw amendment to consider tonight, again, has to do with board tenure and vacancies in particular. Historically, a vacancy on the board in a director term may be filled by the board with an appointment, and the individual appointed will serve out the balance of the term that's been vacated. And this typically happens if there's a resignation before a director's term expires of its natural course. Like there was a legacy provision in the bylaws that required the ratification of the membership of any such appointment at the next ensuing AGM or other meeting of the membership. Because the board is very diligent in its review and the exercise of its discretion in selecting someone to fill an appointed role for the balance of the term, we felt that it was not necessary to bring that matter to the membership on an interim basis. We also thought that this could be better handled by leaving this at the board level, and then the appointee would move with their class into the next full selection cycle. Okay, again, the motion for this approval of this amendment as presented to the board was given by Thomas Ringler and was seconded by Karen Lay. Is there any discussion? We will open that up through the Q&A for seconds to see if anyone has any questions or comments on this amendment before we call for a vote. While we're waiting, I see one question that came in. Theoretically, how long could a board member serve without membership ratification or vote? Board membership terms are 4 years. So it would be, in theory, the time between when the appointment is made during a term until the expiration of that term. So in theory, the longest it could be, I suppose, would be 3 years, 364 days if someone resigned a day after they were selected to a 4-year term. Another question came in, how many times has this situation occurred where the board has needed to appoint a member to finish a resigning member's term? I would put Jared on the phone, on the call right now as our historian, because he could probably answer that better than me. I've only been on the board for about 8 or 9 years now. In my tenure, it's happened a couple of times. It does not happen very often. We are very good at recruiting our nominations committees that we convene every year for considering candidates, do a fantastic job of vetting candidates to ensure not only do they have the relevant soccer and strategic and managerial experience and competence, but they also have the necessary passion and drive and determination to serve their term or terms as directors. So it doesn't happen very often, so I would say the answer is not very often. And then another question came in, are there any offices that would be exempt from this amendment? President, for example. I'm getting another message. Does somebody else want to answer this? I'm getting another note to that effect here.
So I believe, David, is that if the president's position is vacated, that our bylaws have the ascension of the vice president to fill the role of president.
Right.
And then that would be for the remainder of that term until that position then is up for election. So at this point, there wouldn't be a need for a ratification by the members because it would be a part of the ascension for that position.
Right. And if there were a vacancy in other executive office positions, such as the executive vice president role, the treasurer role, or the secretary role, then that would be an appointment that historically, I know at least in my case, it was an appointment that was made by the then serving president and ratified by the board to fill that role for the unexpired term. And then that person, should they choose to continue, would stand for selection before the membership when that office came up for election. As most of you may know, we have 16 directors, 4 of whom are also executive officers. Each of the executive officers stands for election in a given year. So we never have more than one executive officer standing for election in a given year. So they cycle along sequentially in that fashion. Do we have any other questions? Give it a couple of seconds. Okay, seeing none, Rob, I'll turn it over to you for the vote, please.
Thank you very much. The vote is being opened now. Please go to Nemo Vote and cast your vote. Again, you'll find the vote in the My Votes section of the website. Okay, 10 seconds left. And the vote is now closed. There was a total of 45 voting delegates with a total voting weight of 144. 129 votes in favor of the motion.
Motion passes. Thank you. The final bylaw amendment is a change that the board is proposing to make to the language in our bylaws pertaining to player membership fees. And before again, this was motion to approve this amendment was made by Karen Goulet and seconded by Thomas Ringler. Before I open it for discussion, just briefly, the rationale for this. As many of you know, maybe all of you know, years and years ago when the association acquired the Progen Park development, there was a $3 per player assessment in the form of a fee increase that was approved at that time, earmarked for development and associated maintenance. We have since gone through at least one refinancing of Progen Park. We're in the middle right now of returfing the artificial turf fields and completing other infrastructure improvements and maintenance, as all of you considered and approved back in October of last fall at our special membership meeting, those capital expenditures. The board considers all projected revenues and costs in its budgeting and planning process, including those that are incident to owning and operating the field complex in Lancaster. And it does so in the context of considering and recommending and setting both player and adult membership fees to the association. Tying a number, arbitrary number, to the park is neither good budgeting process nor frankly realistic in today's situation with the park. Registration numbers of players times a dollar amount is not a way to budget what it takes for us to run the park. It actually needs to be dollars against expenses, revenue dollars against expenses. And this was pointed out to us in blinding detail during COVID, when we experienced wide fluctuations in our membership numbers. So the board will consider the operation of the field complex as part of the budgeting process, and to eliminate the confusion that seems to exist around this $3 earmark in our bylaws, we're proposing to eliminate that language from that particular section of the bylaws. So I'll open it up for questions and comments at this point. See if anyone has anything they'd like to add to the discussion.
Not seeing anything come through Q&A for comments or questions, David.
All right, thank you, Rob. So that we'll call the question. Rob, I'll turn it over to you for that, please.
Thank you, David. The vote is now open. We will provide you 1 minute to cast your votes. We'll provide 10 more seconds to capture the last few votes. And the vote is now being closed. There were a total of 44 delegates who voted, with a total voting weight of 142. There were 123 votes in favor, 16 against, and 3 abstentions.
Thank you. Okay, speaking of setting membership fees, the board in its latest budgeting process has recommended to the membership setting the player and adult fees at $22, which would be an increase of $5 per registration to be effective for the fall 22 season. Motion to approve this new fee structure has been made by Dana Santilli and has been seconded by Steve Smoller. Briefly, before I open this up for questions and discussion, the board has made this fee proposal increase to the membership, again, as a result of a lot of time and effort, particularly led by Mike Borislaw and Thomas Ringler, and considering a lot of the potential costs that we're faced with, not only related to general operations, but also in the risk management area. We have prepared and posted on the website approximately 30-minute presentation, video presentation, describing in great detail the basis for this proposal and the rationale for it, and indeed the necessity for it. So with that, I will open this up for any questions or comments from the meeting. We have one question that came in, and Mike, I'm going to ask you to unmute Thomas to answer this one. The question is, the proposed fiscal 22 budget shows a $400,000 surplus without this fee increase. Therefore, two-part question. First, why is a fee increase being requested this year? And secondly, what is the estimated fiscal 22 surplus with this fee increase included?
Thomas, do you want to unmute yourself? There you go.
Yeah. So we saw and are seeing currently, and I think everybody is aware of inflation that is happening in your daily life. And Matthew Stocker as an association sees that as well. So we see, in addition to what we put in a business plan, a lot of pressure on labor cost side, hiring good people, and I'm talking here, field help for events. We are in competition to other, jobs, so we have to be competitive. So we see a lot of increases coming beyond our business plan, and it might even increase beyond that. And the second, and I didn't really go in all these details, our insurance costs are actually increasing this year alone by $200,000, which is almost a 50% increase to what we saw historically. And Mike can certainly explain this in more detail and give you more flavor. That these increases on the insurance premiums, I think is just the beginning. What we see coming for youth soccer organizations. There's a lot of litigation out there. A lot of insurance companies are wary of insurance liability, general liability, and other liability in the youth soccer space, and are adjusting their premiums accordingly. So we see at least cost increases somewhere between $150,000 and $250,000 just coming out of that towards us in the coming weeks and months. So without the fee increase, our $400,000 profit alone would go down to around $100,000, $150,000, which is really not enough to serve our loan, which we have to pay back every year, roughly $300,000. So we have to maintain a threshold of roughly $400,000 of operating profit. So we will be able to A, pay the principal on our loan, and also to put $100,000 roughly in savings into our investment fund for future field repairs. So that's really the pressure on the expense side is now enormous. Without the fee increase, we would have to do measures which we don't want to consider at this point, reducing our services, not putting money into our investment fund for future repairs. So it will overall, diminish our ability to serve the membership fees without these increases. And I can only, point out to your daily life what is happening right now. And this is also, we see from the state association, costs are increasing very fast.
Let me go, Thomas, thank you. Let me just clarify one thing about the $400,000 surplus that was mentioned in the question. That $400,000 surplus, in fact, represents basically the amount that we owe on the field financing for principal payment, because that is not an operating expense and would not be included in the calculation of an operating profit number. That's a cash item. Yeah. So that $400,000 in terms of cash in the bank at the end of the year as a surplus is really not 400. It's really 150. That 150 does not include funds that we as a board have projected and are planning to set aside for both deferred maintenance and ultimately repayment of the existing field financing facility. So the $400,000 operating surplus is not a cash surplus after we've paid all of our bills at the end of the day, including funding our reserve. That number is really on a cash basis, almost a break even. So there is no change. There would be no change in that if the fee increase were not made, then we would be on an operating level and certainly on a cash basis, subject to cost increases for compensation and salaries, for insurance costs and other expenses that the association has for running its business.
Great, thank you, David. There's two more questions. I'll tackle these. Is when do we expect the next increase to be required? That would be effective for the fall of this year, so it does not affect any spring revenue or expenses. We know that a lot of organizations are setting their fall fees as we speak, even though the spring season hasn't started. That's taking place. So this would become effective with the fees that are due Mass Youth Soccer starting with the fall of this year. Another question posted is, after watching the YouTube presentation, my first comment is thank you for watching. It was clear to me that the higher fee increases requested now was designed to avoid smaller fee increases in subsequent years. So if not next year, when does Mass Youth Soccer expect to reassess membership fees again? As I described in the video, is when I came into this role 7 years ago, we hadn't had a fee increase in quite a long time, close to 14 years. When I started to take a look at the operating budget, some of the things that I started to notice that were left by my predecessors was that in order to minimize our expenses, there was a huge reduction in internal expenses to the point that it really put the overall organization at financial risk. And so what we did was we just basically went back 14 years and took a look at an inflation adjusted methodology, said, okay, based on inflation, it should be 17. And that's where we arrived at 5 years ago. So of course, now we've got inflation over the last 5 years, expenses are going up, operating costs are going up. But what's taking place, as Thomas pointed out, there are certain expenses that are skyrocketing, such as insurance is number one. Another one that we know is going to be, could be doubling is the amount that we have to pay for background checks. We have a basic background check program in place. It does a suitable job. But as we all know, a background check is a net. And we just have to make the holes in the net smaller, which cost more money because we are seeing things coming down from U.S. Soccer, the USOPC, and federal mandates that fell under the Abuse Prevention Act of things that we need to do. So our background check company that we're using is, we've got an incredible program. There's over 40 state associations use the services of this organization, but we're going to have to actually do a tighter background check than we currently do. So we're taking a look at expenses that are skyrocketing. So if we just kept it to inflation, a modest increase would get us back to par. And then starting on September 2nd, we'd be chasing again. And we'd be trying to catch up again. So the goal here is, let's get us to where we should be today, which would mean if we were to do things annually, we'd be coming back to members for 28 cents, for 34 cents, for $1.02, $1.05 every year. So we try not to come back to our members on an annual basis. So the goal here is, let's get this taken care of. Let's catch up for the last 5. Let's get an additional 2 years of forecasting budget in place. So then 2 years from now, we'll recalibrate. And we really hope that 2 years from now, we recalibrate and say, listen, we're doing really well. We can get another year. So it may be another increase or a fee proposal could be 3 years from now instead of 2. but rather than every year. So that's the approach we're taking, is to actually budget the way budgeting should be done. Forecasting, making sure we're financially fit, and then taking it from there. So I hope that answers the question.
I think it did. All right, seeing no more questions, Rob, let's call the question and have the vote, please.
Thank you, David. The vote is now open on Nemo Vote. Please go to the My Votes tab and cast your vote. We'll give you 1 minute. Last couple of seconds. And we are closing the vote. There was a total of 45 delegates who voted, with a total voting weight of 144, 126 in favor, 14 against, and 4 abstentions.
Thank you, Rob. And thank you to the membership. I think this is, from a fiscal standpoint, this is a very prudent and positive thing for the association, and your board sincerely thanks you for your support. We believe this puts us on very strong footing to face the uncertainties that we're looking at in some of the areas Mike alluded to. And we appreciate this as a vote of confidence in the board's ability to run a tight ship, which is what we try to do every day. So thank you. And I think, next slide, please. I think it's over to Bob at this point.
Yep, and there was just a quick question about, can we change the fall of the actual date it takes effect? Well, the actual date it takes effect is when our member organizations submit their fall 2022 fees to us. So come this spring, as we update the registration page on our website, there's a fee submission form, and that fee submission form this spring will be updated to reflect the new fee. And then as our members start submitting their data to us, typically starts in July, the fee form will have that fee on there.
So I guess, Mike, to state it just a little bit differently and maybe a bit more simply, this is the fee for fall 2022 registrations. Okay. All right, this is over to Bob.
Yes, thank you. Selection of board members. Before we get into the election process, I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the individuals who served on this year's nomination committee, reviewing candidates' qualifications and letters of interest. Those folks were Jeff Hines, chairperson of the committee from the Roots League, Dana Santilli and Sean Nabelli from the Massachusetts Soccer Board of Directors, Cliff Cloutier, the immediate past president of the Mays League, and Amanda LaFlame, a director from the Essex County Board of Directors. Thank you all for your important service in vetting the candidates for board positions. The selection or election of board members to open positions will be executed in the following sequence: President, ratification of Class C director, then the election or selection of the Class A directors, which is 4 candidates for 3 positions. Next slide, please. All candidates were vetted and approved by the nominations committee as qualified candidates for the respective positions. Pursuant to our bylaws, section 103.5, the process for submitting additional nominees, self-nominations, was closed on February 20th of this year with no additional nominees put forth. Again, per the same bylaw, no additional nominations can be made from the meeting floor. Next slide, please. So the selection of the president. Karen Goulet, are you able to get audio now?
I am. Can you hear me, Bob?
Yes, I can. And so are you, as this is the president's position, as the first selection, and I currently sit in that position, I would like to withdraw from presenting the candidate and ask Karen if she would conduct the election.
I'd be honored to, Bob. And before we proceed, just want to mention on a personal note, thank you. You're a consummate professional, and our game is, and our membership has been honored to have you as our president. So that said, and as Bob mentioned, the nominating committee has reviewed and approved 1 candidate who submitted for consideration the office of president of the association, and that was David Amidon. No other candidate has been nominated through the self-nomination process, which is a provision of our bylaws. And our bylaws, as Bob mentioned, do not permit nominations from the floor. They also do not require selection of directors or officers by ballot. That said, are there any objections to David Amidon being elected as our next president of Mass Youth Soccer? And we'll pause here. And Rob and Jamie, feel free to let me know if there's anything to note from the comments. Okay, so hearing none, and since David Amidon is running unopposed, he is considered elected as our new president by acclamation. Congratulations and welcome, David. Bob, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Karen, and congratulations, David. Could we have the next slide, please? Okay, this is the ratification of Class C at-large director. I should note to the membership, class only designates the group in the year of selection among our at-large directors. It has no other meaning. This action that we're about to take requires a bit of an explanation and a vote by the membership. Notwithstanding the amendment that we just passed a few minutes ago, giving the board the appointment power, that does not take effect until the conclusion of the meeting. Therefore, we need to talk about an appointment that occurred last year. Shortly after the AGM, then a vacancy arose. And as it says in section 107, the board had the authority to appoint an individual to fill the vacancy. After a vetting process, the board appointed Andy Henderson to fill the vacancy in July of 2021. Historically, as a board authority, a variety of methods have been used to fill the vacancies, the most recent being used in a contested election situation, which would have which would result in an appointment of a candidate not elected to a vacant seat. Unfortunately, the unintended consequence of following that practice has been to award a lower or lowest votes getter in a contested election an opportunity for an extended tenure on the board based on the term limit policies that we have in place. As the term limit clock for an appointed candidate doesn't begin until the end of their appointment. So utilizing this ratification process will allow Mr. Henderson to finish the remainder of the vacated term for 2 years, and then be able to make a decision whether to run for a board position with his class, I should say, in 2 years from now in 2024. As I said, this will require a vote. Before we get to that, we wanted to give Andy an opportunity to address the membership, if he would like. Andy, would you like to do that? Rob, can you help him out with that?
There we go.
Yep,
And
Andy can speak.
Yeah, is video on as well?
Your video is not on.
I can promote him to panelists. Andy, if you'd just like to unmute yourself, you are now a panelist.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Andy Henderson. I'm an attorney in Boston. I'm a longtime soccer fan, soccer player. I'm a parent of 2 Newton boys that went through the town system. I've had the honor of working with the board over the last, year, a little under a year, and have been impressed with their initiatives, how they handle themselves. And I would love to continue on for the next 2 years and kind of give back to the community that's kind of developed me and raised me as a player, coach, and father going forward. So I want to thank Bob for all his guidance. I'd also like to thank the board that I've worked with. And I thank you all for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you. The vote for the ratification of the Class C director term is now open. We'll give 10 seconds longer. And the vote is now closed. There were a total of 43 delegates voting, with a total voting weight of 127, 126 in favor, and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations, Andy. We'll now turn to the election of the Class A at-large directors. There are 4 candidates vying for 3 4-year term positions. Jeff Chambers, Janet Gargan, John Renaud, and John Sanders. Candidates' letters of interest and resumes have been posted on the AGM webpage over the past month. Before we proceed to voting, we're going to allow each candidate 2 minutes to address the membership. We will proceed in alphabetical order by last name. And I believe we are not going to video. Is that correct? Just audio?
Correct. We have opened up the
Rob?
mic. So Jeff Chambers is prepared and ready to speak.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. First, before I go any further, I want to second all the words of thanks and appreciation for Mike Borislaw and the staff and the board of directors. It's been a pleasure to work with them over the past several years. I also want to give a special shout out to both Bob and to Jared Scarpacci. Lots of guidance, lots of conversations. So thank you for all your efforts. And I know you're not going too far away, but you will be missed. So congrats to Dave Amadon. I think looking forward to your leadership of the association moving forward. So I'm be very grateful to have an opportunity to serve another term on the board of directors. I'm proud of what has been accomplished thus far, but there's a lot of unfinished business. The Genesis referee program, other referee initiatives, working with our towns and clubs, especially for the rec level kids, and developing futsal, among a whole bunch of other work that the board has before it that I would very much like to be a part of. So having said that, I think it's great for the organization to have 4 very qualified and experienced candidates who are willing to serve. Having more candidates than positions is a good sign for the organization. And regardless of what happens with tonight's vote, I really don't think that there's a bad choice there. So I'll personally commit, and I hope the other candidates would also, to continue to be involved and support the association and the board and all the players that we serve in any way possible. So thank you.
Did you already do your 2 minutes?
I just did it.
All right, next is Janet Gargan.
Hi, I'm Janet Gargan, and I've been on the Mass Youth Soccer Board for the past 4 years. I want to tell you about my experiences and passion in soccer. Currently, I'm the president of a futsal league, and I'm the lead for futsal on the Mass Youth Soccer Board. I'm hoping to continue to promote futsal, as well as showing the bridging between soccer and futsal. I believe that both sports are highly attractive, fun, and competitive on their own. Futsal can develop soccer players as well as soccer can develop futsal players. The question shouldn't be, do you want to play futsal? The question should be, why aren't you playing futsal? My next passion is referee development. I've been a referee for 27 years, an assigner for 12, and a mentor for just as long. And as Ellie said, I've been very involved in the Genesis referee program. I work with several organizations in developing and retaining referees. We are in a crisis, and we need to all focus on this problem. My other interest is the Town Select League, TSL. TSL works with town-based member organizations to provide an opportunity for players to experience a high level of development and competition. I am the referee assigner for the league as well as a coach. No matter the outcome of the election, I'll continue to do what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Now, John Renaud.
Hi, my name is John Renaud. I want to let you know a little bit about me. I serve on the board of directors for King Philip Soccer. I've been on the board for over 10 years, served for treasurer for 4 years. I am also the director of the top soccer program for KP. I've been involved with that program since 2009. And as some of you probably know, once you get involved with top soccer, you don't get out. One of the reasons that I'm involved with top soccer is that the program you want a program so that everyone makes soccer a game for all kids. I'm on the advisory board for an electrical department at a regional vocational high school. With Top Soccer, I've been working with Karen Goulet for a few years now, helped with the Top Soccer Night at the Revs. I'm currently working with Karen and Tammy and the state office on regarding a post-COVID reentry series for new and existing TOPS programs, as well as centralized Top Soccer registration system. And right now, my professional position, a little bit about me there, is I'm the engineering and installation manager for a temperature control company. My responsibilities are to ensure the company's strategy and commitment and goals are adhered to throughout our organization. And right now, I would like to take my experience with my local league and my professional background to a state level as a director with Mass Youth Soccer. I know I can help with collaboration, coordination throughout the state to help Mass Youth Soccer reach its goals and continue to grow. I'm at a different stage in my life where I have the bandwidth to require the attend meetings, serve on committees, help with new initiatives, and have the ability to volunteer for activities throughout the state. I hope I can have your support. Just like everyone else said, everyone here is more than qualified. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And now John Sanders.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the time from me, allowing me to speak about my candidacy. Soccer has been an important part of my life from as a youth to adult to today as a mentor, a coach, a referee, and a parent. The world of youth soccer is changing every day, and I want to be on the forefront of this growth. While working with Middlesex Youth Soccer and Somerville Youth Soccer, I have been able to strengthen and create a core infrastructure to help that will ensure all children, regardless of all economic and race status, who wish to participate in a sport that encourages growth and development. I believe in leadership by example, coaching, mentoring, engaging the families in key goals are the key goals of Mass Youth Soccer, and I want to assist Mass Youth Soccer in furthering its goals. Beyond soccer, I have extensive experience in finance and accounting. Currently, I'm with a national consulting firm as a vice president in their financial and accounting practice. In addition to serving on the Middlesex Youth Soccer League as age director and on the competition committee, as well as director of refereeing for Somerville Youth Soccer. And as in the past, I've served as president of a local settlement house in Somerville, Massachusetts. As the other candidates, I believe we're all strong candidates and hope that we will be able to all work together if we're not elected to make Mass Youth Soccer move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, thank you to all candidates. We are at the point of the election. I'm going to turn it over to Rob and Jamie.
Thank you, Bob. So we will now select 3 Class A at-large directors. It's important to note that you must select 3 and exactly 3 of the 4 candidates. Should there be any needs for additional votes, there may be a short delay while we prepare questioning. The vote is now open. Please make your selections.
Just as a little clarification here, Bob, I'll add that in order to be selected, you must receive 50%, more than 50% of the available votes, which may necessitate a second follow-up if any of the candidates do not of the top 3. So that's what the tabulation will take place. And then in addition, while everybody's voting, I know a lot of people may drop off right after the election. but I would like to ask everybody to please not do that. We've just got a few more minutes to tidy up the end of the meeting. And then at the good of the game, there's a little follow-up, some announcements that we have to make during the good of the game. So please do us a favor. And we know it's just about 2 hours and 5 minutes we've been going. And we appreciate your patience with the process. And but we would really like you to stick around for the good of the game component of our meeting. Thank you.
We'll give 5 more seconds to cast votes. And the vote is now closed. There was a total of 45 delegates voting for this vote. The total voting weight was 136. So 50% or 69 votes would be required for a candidate to be selected. In alphabetical order, the 3 candidates selected with greater than 50%, Jeff Chambers, Janet Gargan, John Renaud. There will be no need for any additional selections.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. And I wish to thank all the candidates for their interest and passion in our sport, and congratulate the selected directors. John Sanders, please don't run away. I'm sure we can find places for those wishing to serve in the association. We thank you for your candidacy. Next slide, please. New business. Is there any new business that members wish to discuss? I'll pause for a minute to allow time for response in the Q&A function. Anything in the Q&A, Rob?
Nothing in the Q&A, Bob.
Okay. Let's move on. Next slide, please. A thank you to our partners. I love this slide, showing the growth of Mass Youth Soccer sponsors and partnerships. A huge thank you to the Mass Youth Soccer sponsors and education partners for the continued support of the association and its members. We are excited to have partnered with several new organizations over the past year as we continually look to expand the support and resources we can provide to our members. Thank you in particular to Apex Entertainment for their support of the annual award winners. We are excited to host our first in-person event in over 2 years on April 30th as we celebrate our 2020 and 2021 award winners at Gillette Stadium with a tailgate sponsored by our new official restaurant partners, Eva Trattoria and 110 Grill. Next slide, please. Please join our official physical therapy partners, Bay State Physical Therapy, on Tuesday, March 22nd for a special coaching conversation on injury prevention for athletes. Bay State Physical Therapy have provided a fantastic injury prevention guide free for all members. We highly recommend downloading the prevention guide prior to your spring season. You can register today for the virtual meeting on our Coaching Conversations webpage. Next slide, please. Dick's Sporting Goods preseason discount weekend will take place from Thursday, March 24th to Monday, March 28th, with 20% off available on all in-store purchases. Mass Youth Soccer greatly appreciates Dick's Sporting Goods' extended support of the association and our members, including a special grant provided for the players in our Goals and Goals for Success program. Excuse me for a second. In addition, the Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation has donated over $40,000 to urban and underserved member programs during 2021. Next slide, please. Before we get to the good of the game, I'd just like to give our new president, David Amadon, an opportunity to address the membership. David?
It's 9:16 Eastern, so I promise this is going to be very brief. I want to thank everyone on the webinar tonight for hanging in there for the entire meeting. We had a lot to get done tonight, as you saw, and I believe we've accomplished a lot. Very briefly, I am so excited to be handed the reins to lead this wonderful organization for the next 4 years. As I mentioned earlier, I've been part of the leadership team here for the past 8 or 9 years, so I do have some idea of what's in store. And I'll have much more to say to all of you in the coming days and weeks, but let me just leave you tonight with 2 things. First, I know most of you, some of you well, others not so much. And next year at this time, I hope to know a lot more of you and know all of you better. And in that regard, as you'll come to see, I'm a lifelong practitioner of listening as much as I talk and talking only as much as I listen. My virtual door will be open to all of you always, so please reach out. And thanks again, and best wishes from me and on behalf of the entire board and the state office staff to all of you for a fantastic upcoming spring season. Back to you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, David. Now for the good of the game. Is there anyone who would like to address the meeting? I'll pause for a minute to allow for a request to be recognized using the Q&A.
Actually, Bob, we do have somebody submitted something that they would like us to share. So Rob's going to take care of sharing his screen. Rob, you're on mute.
Thank you. We've also had a submission from Andy Weiss from Mass Adult Soccer, thanking Bob and Jared. You'll be able to see that in the question and answer section, and congratulating David on his new role as president. So thank you very much, Andy.
Congratulations, Bob. What can I say? You have been a huge part of my soccer life. First met you when you were on the Essex board while I was on the Methuen board. And when I joined the Essex board in 2004, really started to get to know you. But the real Bob Trudeau I got to know was the assistant coach, Bob. You assisted on the Danvers Destroyers, and I was coaching the Methuen Eagles. And we had a 3 straight year of a running battle for the Methuen Eagles to only lose to the Danvers Destroyers at Essex County or just prior to getting there. But nonetheless, forged a very strong relationship during your presidential years at Essex. And then while we both served on the Mass Youth Soccer board together, and then the last 7 years in my role as executive director, coinciding with your 7 years, now going on 8 as the president of Mass Youth Soccer. I will tell you, a lot of things come to mind when I think about you. The one is, of course, measure 5 or 6 times and cut once. You're truly a gentleman. You're very thoughtful, caring, focusing on children first, not only the children that play our great game, but the children that also play the game vis-a-vis goals, soccer, tops soccer, and of course, all the work that you have done with Special Olympics. Speaking of that, you as a referee there, you truly are a referee's referee, a great mentor to so many people. And what else? Oh, did I mention cut once after measuring 5 or 6 times? Anyway, I've enjoyed our time together. Looking forward to working with you in the future in different roles, but congratulations, and you deserve all the praise and accolades that come your way. Take care.
Thank you, Bob, for your leadership, your clear communication, your optimism, and your passion. You have done a lot for Massachusetts youth soccer. Thank you.
Mr. Trudeau, little did we know that when I was 15 and volunteering at the Special Olympics, when we first met, that our paths would cross so many years later. As a Danvers Youth Soccer product, I know that you helped me grow as a player and as a young adult quite a bit. But to serve on this board with you has been really a highlight of my soccer career. I've been humbled and honored to work with you these past few years. You have served with such grace, compassion, and calmness during a time period where maybe the soccer landscape might not be described as that, nor the current climate we live in. I want to just thank you, Bob, or I think I can call you Bob now, but I'd still like to refer to you as Mr. Trudeau, for all that you've done for the families of Massachusetts and everything you've done for Mass Youth Soccer. Thank you.
Bob, thank you so much for your incredible dedication to the game over the past few decades. The number of children that you have served as supposed to leader of Mass Youth Soccer and through various programs for Essex County, Top Soccer, the Special Olympics, as a referee and others is really incredible. I was always impressed that you led with kindness and generosity, and you were always the first person to volunteer your services for any of our programs, initiatives, or events. You truly led by example. I think the most impressive part of your leadership was seeing the genuine joy that you displayed observing and being involved in the programs that we run. So thank you very much, Bob. We are so fortunate to have had a leader like yourself over the past few years. Wishing you all the best for retirement.
Mr. Trudeau, thank you for all your years of service, for everything that you've done, and for being a tremendous leader, a tremendous mentor, and a tremendous friend. Best of luck, and look forward to continuing to work with you in your new role.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob. How you doing? Counting down the days.
I just want to say it has been an absolute pleasure working, I think for you, but you always made it feel like I was working beside you and with you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you are genuinely a kind and wonderful person. And I wish you and your family all the best wherever life takes you. And thank you for all you've done for Mass Youth Soccer and for all you've done for us. Thanks, Bob.
And I just want to say thank you, Bob, for your guidance, keeping the ship on a steady course, and providing us with that direction through your leadership. But mostly, I want to thank you for your complete inability to say the last name of Lynn Galutza. Lynn Gugliuzza, it is not. Lynn Galutza, Ginganguli Watcher, it is not. Lynn Galutza, Lynn Galutza. So in honor of me teaching you how to say Lynn Galutza, I now offer you a bright yellow beverage, and I will drink to your long and lasting lifetime and wish you, where have I gone? Oh, look at that. That's a terrible pour, Bob. You won't want to do a Northern Haze pour like that. Here's to you, and long may you remain a Massachusetts Youth Soccer member. Whoa.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob, for everything.
Good health.
Good health.
Hey, Bob. First off, apologies for being out of uniform, but it's laundry day here today. And after a weekend of the Federation's AGM, planning calls for our upcoming AGM, a league's committee meeting, this is all I got. Sorry. So, under the category of no good deed goes unpunished, one of the results of an outstanding tenure as a leader is that you get a video like this from the people you worked with and worked with well over the past years. So, what to say? What can I add? There's so much that I don't know where to start. I don't know what to include and not include. I don't know when to stop. But here goes anyway. You've been an important part of Mass Youth Soccer for a long time. And it's weird to imagine going forward without you. And having worked closely with you for the past 7 years as your number 2, I can honestly say that just about every corner of this association has a touch of the amazing influence that you brought to your role as our leader. And while you're not really going away, because you do get to vote for another year, just please know that we already miss you. Personally, you've been an outstanding coach and mentor to me as a leader. And I promise to keep on with that legacy by investing the same time, the same energy, and the same care that you invested in all of us, the board, the staff, our members, our leagues, and especially me. And now you can put that same effort and that same passion that you put into leading this great state association into enjoying yourself, spending more time skiing, if that's even possible, and of course with Barb and the grandkids. And in my first act as the new president of Mass Youth Soccer, I am decreeing that your new annual goal is to have so much fun until it feels illegal. Bob, congratulations on a great run as our president and leader. And I know you're going to be a very tough act to follow.
Hey, Bob, this is not a goodbye. This is see you later. See you on the soccer field as a referee. See you at a Mass Youth Soccer event. There are so many things that come to my mind when I look back at the 4 years on the board with you. I will never forget how you made me feel welcome at my first board meeting. And I will certainly never forget how patient you were with me over the last 4 years. I will seriously miss you at our next board meeting. And it was a true pleasure and honor knowing you. If somebody represents the good of the game, I think it's you. I saw you how we were dealing about serious issue on the board meeting, and you always put the kids and the game in the center of all of our decisions. And I saw you as a referee, refereeing one of my son's games. You were always a very special referee, not just calling fouls you were actually teaching and educating players on the field. I remember when somebody threw in the ball the wrong way, you went there and you told him how to throw in the ball. And that is what I say is the true spirit of our sport, is teaching and helping young kids. And you represented that to the utmost. And for that, I'll thank you so much. And I wish you all the best. And as I said before, it's not a goodbye. See you later.
Hi, Bob. Yep, it's me in a reffing shirt. Somebody has to fill in all the jobs that you're going to be leaving behind. Thanks for all your leadership. It's nice to know we have so much support from the top down, and now you're going to have all that time to spend with your grandkids or all the other things that you enjoy doing so much. We won't say what order those are going to come in. Best of luck. Well deserved. Thank you so much.
So Bob, the last and final comments will lead to you. I know we had a slide queued up for adjournment, but the stage is all yours.
No, I don't know what to say, folks. Thank you. I'm speechless. You have no idea how much that meant to me. To know that, to get all your comments. It's I've always enjoyed what I've done, and I'm just going to leave it that I'm not completely done. I'm still going to be here to help the association, and you will see me at a lot of events and programs. Thank you all. I really appreciate the sentiments, and I'll see you on the pitch. Thanks.
Well, thanks, Bob. And just as an FYI, at a later date when we're together in person, we'll have a special gift from Mass Youth Soccer for you. No, it's not getting your skis waxed. Don't worry, but it'll be maybe more special than that. But then, as your final act, you can call for the motion to end this year's AGM.
Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I think I heard Jared Scarpacci make that motion.
Oh, good. So that means that Dave Dalrymple seconded the motion.
I just got that confirmation.
Right. Okay. So then ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for hanging in there all evening. I know it was a long meeting, but as David said, we did get a lot accomplished. So we appreciate your attention and participation in this meeting. All right, everyone. Thank you. Good evening. We will see you soon.